What is up, gaming wizards? Welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I am your host, Connor Munro, and you may still not know me, but I'm sure you will. In my first video on the channel, I covered the top 10 biggest Nintendo fails, but in light of recent events, we're moving on to the company Nintendo ended up creating. This is our list of the top 10 biggest Sony fails. Number 10, PlayStation Home. PlayStation Home was launched on December 11, 2008, and the launch was a disaster. The servers were inaccessible to players for a while until the PSN shut down entirely for an hour. When it came back, you could finally get onto the PS Home servers. This was only the beginning of the issues. A slew of connection issues, Sony removing voice chat from the game only to bring it back 4 days later. While connection issues continued to be a slight issue, they seemed to have it under control. They then added games along with things you could purchase for your character. Think Gary's Mod Hotel, if you know what that is at least. Even though they claimed the service was quite profitable, there seemed to be no version for the PS4 that had been announced. No matter how good they claimed it was for their business, they shut it down on March 31st, 2015, and made way for bigger and better screw-ups. Number 9, the PlayStation Move. Turning the PlayStation into a Wii. And with very limited games on the system for the PlayStation Move, they didn't really sell like hotcakes. However, Sony did step up their game with the PS4. The PlayStation VR has a wide variety of VR games to play, from Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted to Skyrim, and many more. This is a mistake that Sony learned from, and then they decided to redo and improve on it in the later years, rather than just scrapping the whole thing and giving up. So thank you, Sony. Even if it may not be as smooth as other VR systems, as I've read multiple reviews myself because I was considering getting one, it's a step in the right direction. So when the next set of consoles comes out and Elder Scrolls 6 VR is announced, I hope you will improve on it even more. Number 8, Polygon Man. Polygon Man is a former mascot for the PlayStation in North America from 1995. He appeared in pre-launch ads, commenting on various games, but was dropped before the release of the first console. Phil Harrison, the head of Sony's European game publishing business, was talking about Ken Kutaragi, the global head of the PlayStation brand's first moments of seeing Polygon Man. He said, "I remember walking onto the E3 booth with Ken and seeing the Polygon Man design on the side of the booth. Ken just went absolutely insane." Ken was obviously upset that they were spending their limited budget on this, and his biggest complaint was that the shading was so flat. So after this, they took Polygon Man out into the parking lot and quickly shot him. But I remember him more recently, you might be saying, as I was when I saw him in a picture. Why is that? Well, it's because in 2012, Polygon Man returned as the main antagonist and final boss of the Super Smash Bros. Ripoff game, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. I actually have this game, and I played it all the way through the story. Kratos was my main. I love being able to hit people as a bird. But they hated this character so much that they literally made him the antagonist to all of PlayStation's biggest hits. And Parappa the Rapper. Number 7, the Xperia Play. The Xperia Play was PlayStation's attempt to close the gap between phone and console, and let the two connect and converse. It was essentially a smartphone with the capabilities of some handheld gaming consoles. It was running on an Android operating system and was the opposite to the PlayStation Vita, which was a handheld gaming console with smartphone capabilities. The games planned for this device were vast, with games like God of War and Little Big Planet. However, it would have also included some older PlayStation games as well. The games were going to be under $10 a pop, which is very cheap, especially considering how the PSP games were $40 and under. The phone failed because it wasn't what people were expecting. The controls on the slide-out controller weren't synced, and it was just playing second fiddle to the PSP. Speaking of the PSP, number 6, UMD. UMD was the type of gaming disc that came with the PSP. I believe it stands for Universal Mini Disc, and came in an odd case that you would insert into the PSP, case and all. The PSP had both games and actually TV shows and movies. The UMD had its advantages over CDs, though they were minimal. It's like the Nintendo cartridges. People didn't want to adapt to the new medium, so they didn't put out any games on the system. I only saw a few games and like no movies or TV shows except for the Family Guy thing I had. But the PSP quickly died and was replaced later on with the PS Vita, which seems to have a slightly better rep at least. Number 5, rootkit. In 2005, Sony started leaning in hard to copyright protection on CDs. If you're too young to know what a CD is, don't worry, I'll explain. They're essentially DVDs for music, if that makes sense, if you know what a DVD is. When you would load a CD from Sony into your computer, it would automatically install software to prevent you from pirating the music. It would also install a rootkit, which would make Windows very vulnerable to hackers. Not only that, but Sony stole the encryption code they used to make it. They pirated it so you wouldn't pirate. This whole thing became a huge PR disaster for Sony, and even after recalling all the CDs that were infected, they still were on thin ice with consumers. Come on Sony, stay in your lane. Number 4, the Sixaxis Rumble. The Wii and the PlayStation 3 came out around the same time, and so it was inevitable that they would be compared to each other. The PS3 was advertising new Sixaxis technology with its controllers. Unfortunately, the Sixaxis controllers didn't have vibration like the DualShock 2's did. They claimed it would interfere with the motion sensing technology, and since the Wii controllers had both motion sensing tech and vibrations, the community quickly called BS. Sony eventually ended up proving themselves wrong when they released the DualShock 3, which had both motion sensing technology and vibrations all functioning perfectly fine. They need to realize that lying is not a good idea, especially when you can prove that you were lying when you come out with the exact same thing that you said couldn't be done, years after your competitor did too. Number 3, the Great PSN Outage. In 2011, the Sony PSN, or PlayStation Network, lost all functionality due to an external intrusion. The servers were hacked and approximately 77 million accounts were compromised, and it prevented all users from the PS3 and PSP from accessing online services. That means YouTube, web browsers, and online gameplay were all shot. It even beat out the 2007 TJX hack, which affected 45 million customers. Various government officials in several countries voiced their concern over the theft, and Sony's 1-week delay before warning users that their data might have been stolen. They said on April 26th they were hoping to get things running in a week. They released an update on May 14th that required users to change their passwords before logging in, but the online services weren't fixed. On May 1st, Sony announced a welcome back program for customers affected by the outage that involved restoring gameplay, accessing account management, access to PlayStation Home, your friends list, and chat functionality, but not everything was back. According to Sony, the services were taken down intentionally for maintenance due to potentially related activities during the initial attack. None of this makes up for people now knowing that my password is I love you Solda, Sony. Come on. Number 2, the $600 debacle. After the huge success of the PlayStation 2, Sony thought they could do whatever they wanted and fans would be happy. Ha, nope. With a hefty $600 price tag at launch, the PlayStation 3 was beaten out by the Xbox 360 easily. The internet was flooded with video clips and images showing Kaz Hirai delivering his infamous $599 US quote. But at least they corrected themselves with the PS4 by cutting their price to be below the Xbox One by about $100. But that's still $200 less than the PS3 was at launch. The original price is also the same as the Xperia Play. Let me know which one you think is more worth it in the comments below. Finally, at number 1, we have Disney. This is more recent news and doesn't necessarily have anything to do with gaming or games, but it has been by far the biggest screw-up Sony has had for a while. Disney and Sony have been renegotiating the terms of the MCU Spider-Man films. They reached an impasse about negotiations and their partnership as a whole. The original story is that Disney wanted to split the funding for the movie 50-50, but that seems to maybe no longer be the case. Kevin Feige is the head of Marvel Studios and has been overseeing the recent MCU Spider-Man movies. Disney has since pulled him from the next project for reasons Sony would not explain. Sony claimed that he has many new responsibilities that Disney has given him, including all their newly acquired Marvel properties, and that doesn't give him the time to work on movies with characters they don't own. Maybe this means that Disney wanted to buy Spider-Man back from Sony and they refused? As of recording, we don't have many other details, but hopefully those will come our way soon. Maybe along with the announcement of another Spider-Man PS4 game? Since recently, Sony bought Insomniac Games, the developers of the last one. Pretty exciting news, I really like that game. I mean, I'm still playing it, but it's really good. So there we have it, our list of the top 10 biggest Sony fails. What did you think about this list? Is there any Sony fail I forgot? Please let me know in the comment section and be sure to like and subscribe for more daily gamer content. We have everything from gameplay videos to lists like this, so don't miss out. Thank you so much for watching, I'm Connor Munro, and I'll see you in another video.